In order to build a successful and engaging brand experience, I think it all starts with how brands activate their relationship with the customer by creating a unified brand experience. I think the organization as a whole needs to be unified in culture, structure, and mindset. For those smaller brands, you have to make choices where customers are in that journey and how to intercept them.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Growth Genius series brought to you by DMA Asia and Infidigit. My name is Shelly, and I'm the Country Director, Americas at Infidigit. I'm also the founder and director at DMA Asia. In this Growth Genius series, the world's best marketers and business leaders are interviewed about the brands they have worked on, the successful campaign strategies, how they got noticed by their customers, and how they delivered better customer experiences to drive sales. In each episode, we want to share about the big idea that inspires these marketers, the campaign trail they used to execute it, and how it all came together. I have a very special guest today, Tedd Aurelius, Vice President of Strategic Services at SG360. With an agency background spanning 3 decades, Tedd adds to SG360's expertise that improve the marketing performance of their clients. As the VP Strategic Services, Tedd leads the account and creative teams to help clients achieve measurable results. Prior to SG360, Tedd's previous agency experience saw him leading award-winning advertising and direct marketing efforts for numerous national and international brands, including UPS, Pizza Hut, and Ping. He'll share some great insights on building unified customer experiences today. A very warm welcome, Tedd.
Thank you, Shelly. I appreciate you asking me to be a part of this series. I'm super excited. It's a great idea, and I'm humbled and honored that I was chosen. So thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to the conversation today.
Thank you, Tedd. To start with, tell us about your background of how you got started in advertising and direct marketing.
Sure. As luck would have it, growing up, my father was a copywriter for Ross Roy, which was a very successful advertising agency in Detroit. And he worked on the Chrysler business and as well as the rebranding of Bank of Detroit, which later became the Comerica Bank in the 70s. So I was exposed to the ad world and I thought it was pretty cool. And apparently that exposure stayed with me. And so while I was studying history and economics at Michigan State, I ended up at a direct marketing company in Maryland whose main business was to sell a travel club to the customers of banks and retailers. So a little bit different than the history path that I thought I was on. And so I guess I was subconsciously drawn to advertising and marketing. So once I figured that out, and then I figured it was something that I was good at, I became focused on building my career. And so then I moved to Denver, where I worked at a direct marketing firm, a couple of them actually, and including my own agency before I joined the Martin Agency, right about 2001, 2002. So I was fortunate enough to work with some amazingly smart and talented people at the Martin Agency on iconic brands like UPS, Ping, BF Goodrich, Pizza Hut. And so I was really, really lucky to have that opportunity. So I've used that experience to get me where I am today, which is helping to build the marketing services capability at SG360.
That's quite interesting. So considering your experience creating engaging customer experiences, can you please tell us about how a well thought out brand experience can be a significant growth driver?
Absolutely. In order to build a successful and engaging brand experience, I think it all starts with how brands activate their relationship with the customer by creating a unified brand experience. And what I mean by that is that it starts with an initial brand advertising campaign designed to acquire new customers and continues with the activation campaign designed to engage customers with the brand and ultimately turn them into brand advocates. And it's not just about the advertising or marketing. It really has to be this all-inclusive organizational buy-in.
Well, I'm sure about that. So what are the master keys involved to building a unified experience?
I think they all fall under the umbrella of acting unified. So it's really all about three things. And as I just mentioned, I think the organization as a whole needs to be unified in culture, structure, and mindset. And then secondly, the agency needs to be in lockstep with the brand's unification persona. And then thirdly, the communication plan needs to be unified in such a way that it's embedded, adaptable, accessible, and iterative. And I think that the result of all of that is what really fuels the strategy. And then, of course, the creative.
Can you please elaborate on how the plan can be embedded, adaptable, accessible, and iterative?
Sure. When you talk about a unified strategy and a unified creative execution, it really has to be embedded in the experience of where customers are. And today, it's very difficult to do that. Before, it was so much easier when all you had was the big above the line channels, TV, radio, billboards. But I think today you have to be everywhere the consumer is along their journey throughout the day. But I think it has to be naturally embedded into that journey without being over the top. The second thing is adaptable. And what I mean by that is you really have to adapt the creative to not only the environment, but also to the brand. I think it's really, really important to have a plan that is it's not forced. It's easy, and that's part of the embedded examples that I gave earlier. Accessible, I think, from as I mentioned in the customer journey, the plan it needs to be accessible, meaning where customers are, but more importantly, it needs to be in such a fashion that the brand is seen everywhere. And I know that's hard to do. Some companies don't have millions and millions of dollars to do that. Again, I was fortunate enough to work on brands that do have that luxury. So for those smaller brands, you have to make choices of where customers are in that journey and how to intercept them.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one is iterative. I mean, I think the message really needs to be clear. It needs to be truthful, honest, and I think it needs to be a reflection of the brand purpose, the brand promise.
Do you have an example in your past of how a brand acted unified that you could share with us?
Sure. I mean, I have several examples, but for me, the one campaign that I thought executed the Act Unified mantra the best was the UPS Whiteboard Campaign that we at the Martin Agency put together in I think it was 2006. It was really, really fun to work on, and I think the root of the campaign idea was born out of the fact that the UPS brand and how their employees interact with their customers, which was make the complicated simple. So just to give you a little background, every conference room at UPS, no matter what facility you're in, has a whiteboard where customer problems and issues are diagrammed so that UPS engineers, drivers, sales reps, customer service reps, marketing people, advertising folks could help devise a solution. And so our creative team really used that as an inspiration in coming up with the whiteboard guy who represented UPS but was not a UPS employee in our spots. So in every TV spot, he introduced a customer problem by way of a hand-drawn illustration on a whiteboard. And then he proceeded to alter the illustration by demonstrating how the UPS solution could solve the problem. Again, making the complex simple. And so the final step was building this communication and media plan to bring this concept to life by embedding it through the customer experience. We created a multimedia campaign that spanned TV to partnerships with networks, So for instance, on March Madness on CBS, Clark Kellogg, who was an in-studio host, actually diagrammed basketball plays on a whiteboard that had a UPS logo on it. It was very embedded, and we used billboards. We took over an entire subway station in New York City. Using the pillars of the subway, we turned them into magic markers that the whiteboard guy used in the spots. And of course, the newly designed website featuring the whiteboard guy as your guide. So when you logged on to the new whiteboard site, he would be there and he was your guide, walking you through all the different rooms on the site. And so we generated a slew of new customers, one more business from UPS customers that were also using FedEx. We cross-sold customers on additional products, and more importantly, I think we catapulted UPS farther into the logistics space, which generated billions of dollars for them.
Wow, that's all very impressive. I remember how successful that campaign was. Are there any current campaigns that deliver on your Act Unified strategy?
Yeah, there's a number of them that are out there right now, and as a member of the DMA Echo Awards and a judge, I saw a lot of really great campaigns. We saw a lot of them during the pandemic, which were brilliant. But the one most recent, and it's a recent example that was just launched actually for British Airways. They created 500 unique ads. All these ads were different, and it was in an effort in their mind to restore brand love. They felt that all British Airways, the messaging, all they talked about was the planes and the terminals and the equipment, and they really got away from the people, the customers. And so they asked the agency to create these 500 unique ads, and there's literally 500 of them, and they're all different. So no two executions are the same, but they all communicate the same message, which is all of these wide-ranging reasons for flying, and they vary in messaging, right? But they're for all of their different audiences. So there's an ad where it's just a mother, hugging her two children as they got off a plane. There's one of somebody in a hospital bed and people visiting them. So they're not all taking place in an airport, but you just see the British Airways logo. And so it really is about, here's all the reasons why you should fly. And at British Airways, we're in it with you. And they've taken the brand positioning, just like we did at UPS, and really tied it in with their brand positioning and their brand platform. And they did a really nice job with it.
Yeah, I remember British Airways campaign. It was really, really very interesting. I can really see that how those campaigns are executing on Acting Unified. So looking into the future, what are the top 3 local and global consumer trends post-pandemic, which you see happening?
A good question, because there are so many trends out there. And I think that I'm going to choose 3 trends that I think could really help drive the unified activation strategy. And they all, I think are born out of the post-pandemic, right? And so, video became even more of a big deal, right? As people sat in their homes and watched television or looked on their phones or their iPads. So consumers still want to be entertained. So I think video must be a part of any multi-channel campaign. I don't think you can launch something that doesn't have a place or doesn't have an execution in video that can be seen on multiple devices. The second thing is, I think we've conditioned consumers that the points do matter. So gaming or gamification is going to continue to be a huge trend in marketing. Every brand out there, or not every brand, but there are a lot of brands out there that, put together these loyalty programs that all are point-based. So you spend and you get, and the more you spend, the more you get, and you can redeem your points for, valuable cash and prizes, as they used to say on game shows here in the US. But I think that's gaming, and gamification is going to continue to be a huge trend in marketing. And then the last thing is, there's currently a solid stable of social media platforms. So, where is the next Facebook or Twitter going to come from? And actually, if you've read the news recently about, especially the social news, this company called Blue Sky Social, which is actually formed by the founder of Twitter, it's set to launch, and it allows customers to regulate their own data. Like, they're in control of their own data and how much they share, because the platform is decentralized. So, meaning you can log on and you can have access to many different social platforms. I'm not sure how that's going to be able to be monetized, but that's not my problem. So I think my last trend needs to incorporate, as a brand, you need to incorporate a seamless integration of social media into your communication plans. I mean, that's really not going away. So how do you use social media as an integrated, embedded, accessible communication or channel as part of your overall communication plan?
Wow, that's very interesting. So looking at these consumer trends, what should the marketers do this quarter, which is almost gone,
Yep.
next year, and for a horizon of 3 to 5 years?
Wow, another good question. Wow, you're making me think. Having been at the ANA Masters of Marketing conference last week, there are a lot of different trends and a lot of different ideas being floated around by CMOs of some of the biggest brands in the world today. So I think the biggest thing I think marketers should do is to really be true to their brand and be truthful with their customers. There's this intersection of brand truth, which is good for the brand, and the consumer truth, which is good for the people. And not all brands are likable, attractive to all consumers.
Yeah.
So you have to find the intersection of where these two truths become, and that's where the fans are. That's where the loyal customers are going to be found. So I think that brands need to pay attention to that and find out what their brand truth is and match it to this consumer truth, which is really going to be this sweet spot when it comes to marketing. The second thing I would say is that, while we live on, the planet Earth and we have global brands, I think brands need to act and think more locally. People, consumers want to feel like they're a part of something that feels comfortable, part of a community.
Yeah.
And so I think that brands do have a responsibility to their customers. And I think customers will react more in kind to these brands if they're on their local level. And that puts more of a responsibility on marketers, right? That you have to be able to adapt to the different localities to be able to reach your consumers and be relevant. And then I think the last thing is, and this is something I definitely picked up from last week, was that we've always been taught about mainstream marketing, and you've looked at it as, at least here in the United States, we've looked at it as, mainstream, meaning, white people, right? White people interacting with your brand. And, over time, we've started to interject different nationalities, different races. So you see more black, brown, yellow, red people in advertising. And we would joke about it at the Martin Agency about clients wanting to have this rainbow coalition in every ad to prove that, that our product or service is for everybody. And so there has been this shift towards multicultural marketing. And I think it needs to be the other way around. Multicultural marketing needs to be mainstream marketing. And we need to change that mindset of how we think about people living and interacting with each other. And that's going to be a big shift. And I think that's something that brands need to pay attention to.
Wow, very, very interesting. That brings us to our last segment. So, what passions you follow other than your work to unwind and also get inspired?
Let's see. Well, as I mentioned before, my father was in advertising. So advertising, I'm kind of a big fan of advertising. I know it's still work, but I like it. It's like, so who's doing the best work? How it perpetuates the brand's positioning and how it cultivates fandom with their customers. I'm a big sports guy, so that tie-in with fans is very interesting to me. So I'm very passionate about sports. How teams cultivate their fans by how they interact and provide the best activation experiences. My work kind of blends in with my life. But I'm also a big, I love golf. I love being outside. But what really inspires me, I think, is my family. I have twin daughters who inspire me every day. Just having conversations with them enlightens me to a lot of different things, and so I really appreciate that about them. And then I have two stepchildren who I'm also very proud of, and they are doing really interesting things in the world. So that's where I get my inspiration from.
That's wonderful. So, how can our viewers find you and connect with you?
Well, I am the VP of Strategic Services at SG360, so you can find me via our website, which is sg360.com. You can find me personally at tedda@sg360.com. I'm also on Twitter, and it's at Lopey, Lopey, which was a fraternity nickname, but it has stayed with me, and it allows me to be to tune into that sports side. So if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see a lot of sports references, which again helps me to unwind. So anyway, that's how you can reach me,
Yeah,
and
that's
I'm
great.
happy to talk to anyone and anybody about marketing and sports for that matter.
Of course, yeah. So thank you so much, Ted. It was a very insightful session with you today. To everyone who's watching this show, please subscribe to this channel. Also, watch out this space for the next episode of Growth Genius series. Till then, peace. Thank you so much.